for the Green Bay Packers to keep their offense humming like we saw in the second half of last season, they have to stay aggressive to start.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. That's Game Time. You remember how the offense started last year. Forget the Bears game for a second. They couldn't score. They couldn't score in the first quarters. They couldn't score in first halves. They had a historically inept offense in first quarters to open the season. Now, losing David Bakhtiari, losing Aaron Jones, having Christian Watson be hurt, that all played critical roles. While Luke Musgrave gets up to speed. Tucker Kraft, remember, was basically unplayable early in the season. You're figuring out who your left tackle is. There were reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is because they coached offense scared. They played too conservatively. And everydayers will remember the conversations we were having early in that season. I forgot words for a second. How do words work again? We were going in the second halves of these games, they seem to pick up a little bit. They seem to perk up offensively. So why not translate that? Come out slinging it. Now, they did that against the Lions. It didn't work. Part of that was because the Packers could not get a stop. They had to stay one-dimensional, and that became problematic for them. And it wasn't until mid-season that things changed. It was that Steelers game Matt LaFleur has talked about. That Steelers game. But what happened in that Steelers game? They started hitting their deep shots early. Think of how this offense looked different in the second half. First play of the game against the Lions, Christian Watson, monster play. The difference isn't just anecdotal. The Packers went from 28th in EPA per play on scripted calls, so your first 15 plays. That was in the first half, from weeks 1 through 9. In the second half, they were first in EPA per play. First in success rate. The early quarter offense was excellent. The defense didn't get better. The offense did. And the defense, when it played well, was able to feed off that, get some turnovers, create some pressures, and be in a situation where they can actually be helpful. But the difference was the explosiveness. They were 32nd in drives with explosive plays in the first half of games through week 9. 32nd. Last, they were the least explosive offense in the league through the first half. They were third in the second half. Now, part of that is Jordan Love started to hit the deep throws. But I think the more important part was how they attacked down the field. Early on, it was a lot of heavy play action, and you are throwing these one-on-ones down the field. Now, against the Saints, he had Luke Musgrave wide open down the seam, just airmails it. But you're trying to throw these rail shots, these Aaron Rodgers. He didn't really throw transition goes, but trying to throw these go balls outside the numbers. And that's hard living. That's not going to be how you can generate offense consistently unless you have a no doubt alpha receiver who can go win like Devontae Adams could, like Jordy Nelson could. The Packers don't, or at least didn't, have that. They have guys that can do that. I think Christian Watson can be that, but again, he was hurt to start the season. What they were able to get to, and we talked about this with Jason Hirschhorn a couple weeks ago about how Matt LaFleur remade the offense. And it was a lot of core Shanahan principles. These dagger concepts, these big over routes, these backside digs, runaways where you can throw 15 yards and create a 30-yard play, rather than feeling like you have to throw it 30 yards, 40 yards to create these explosive plays. And if you look over the course of the season, Jordan Love, even on plays, so relative to his peers, when you're talking about throws over 20 yards, okay, so these are deep throws. You're talking about a average depth of target for Jordan Love. I mean, look, just because a play goes, over 20, you could have a 50-yard play where you only throw it 20 yards, right? So the Jordan Love average depth of target was over 30. Over 30. That's top 10 among deep throws. Someone like Geno Smith, who loves to sling it deep, it was 27. Relationally, that's a big difference. Brock Purdy, 27. Jared Goff, 27. There's only a difference of about 5 yards here because everyone's throwing about the same. But you remember the throws. They were deep, deep, deep. Versus one of those deep over routes to Jaden Reed or a corner route to Dontavian Wicks where it's an 18-yard throw. Now, that's not technically a deep throw, but it can create an explosive play. A deep over route gets you 21, 25. They found some bread and butter things that work for them. These play action shot plays, Dontavian Wicks on the deep dig, or Jaden Reed on a deep over. They found some things that work. That was always going to take time. So I'm not saying anything that the Packers don't already know. But early in the season, we were begging for them to be more aggressive. Not just to push the ball down the field, but to throw the ball more early on. When it was just A.J. Dillon, when he was basically the only healthy running back that they had of any consequence, they're running into brick walls on first and second down all the time. They were still, league average a little below in neutral down pass rate in these first halves over the course of the season. That has to change. You're paying a quarterback $55 million. You have to be ready to go sling the pill. And I'm pretty confident that is what we will see. I think we will see them be much more aggressive with the way that they want to attack defenses, with their willingness to throw the ball. And I think that it's essential for this team to get all of their players touches. You have to be more aggressive. If you want any chance of getting Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson, all these guys, Grant Dubose now showing out early in training camp, one of my favorite receivers in the draft last year, someone who I thought could come in and contribute for the Packers, and then it turned out to be Dontavian Wicks was your day 3 sleeper. Also someone I really liked in that draft. So in order to get all these guys the ball, you're going to have to throw it a little bit more. I think it's the best thing for this offense, even with Josh Jacobs, even with Marshawn Lloyd. I think they can use those guys in interesting ways, but this has got to be a throw it first team and an aggressive team. I think that's what you're going to see. And it's another reason why I'm really bullish on this offense in 2024. So Jordan Love got paid. I don't want to talk about the contract much longer, but I do want to compare it to what we see around the league from these quarterbacks. Is this a real deal compared to his peers? We'll talk about that next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets to the game faster and easier because prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. It's a great evening event, afternoon event, to just decide on a whim, oh, I'd like to go to the baseball game today. I'd like to go see the Brewers play or the team wherever you live. It doesn't have to be in Milwaukee, or you could live in a city where the Brewers happen to be traveling to. You can go see them there. Last minute tickets can be, you can just go, I don't really want to deal with that. I don't really want to deal with that. Well, Game Time makes it easy. Save up to 60% buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I was wondering, as I was going through the Jordan Love contract, okay, you know, it has this fake year. I'm going to call it a fake year on the end. A $74 million last year of the extension. And I thought, okay, if that's true, let me compare that to other star quarterbacks, particularly from the 2020 class, because everyone's gotten a deal in the last year or so. And I think that makes it easier. Like, to compare it to what Mahomes was or what Allen was, it's not quite fair because the cap is different, the circumstances were different, the market is different. So when you compare the Jordan Love deal to the Jalen Hurts deal, the Jalen Hurts deal is, you go, okay, well, it's $51 million annually, but this is pay as you go. It's a pay as you go deal. His base salary in every year of the deal is essentially the veteran minimum. You're spreading out some of the signing bonus, but he only got a little under $24 million or 23 and change million dollars due at signing. So they're not even spreading out that much money. They have what's called rolling guarantees in there. I don't want to get into too much of the salary cap minutia, but they're basically year to year. All of the guaranteed money, quote unquote, is a future guarantee. It only guarantees in the future. So it's actually after 2025. 2025 is guaranteed. After that, you can get out of this deal with relative ease. So if you think about like the millions of dollars in fake guarantees or rolling guarantees, Love has $35 million in future rolling guarantees. Mr. Hurts, there are 2 years in which Jalen Hurts has larger option bonuses in that single year. 2 of those. So as far as like fake contracts go, it like the Love deal is much more real than the Jalen Hurts deal. Now with Tua, what's interesting, and I guess I don't really understand what they did with the Tua deal, except to say that you only have year 1, year 2, year 3. Year 2 and year 3, he's going to count $60 million on the cap or more. 60. Jordan Love is only going to count that much money on the cap one time. One time, and it's the last year of his deal. He will not see that deal. That's going to be Tua in year 2 and year 3. So that is a deal designed to puff up the big number with the understanding that this is a short-term deal. Those are the numbers on the cap. So they could spread out more money. Like, this could end up being fine. But this is really for Tua is a 2-year deal. That's really all it is. Because his 2024 salary is guaranteed. His 25 salary and roster bonus are guaranteed. That's it. That's it. This is a deal that says it's close in APY to Jordan Love, but it does not relay the same confidence in the quarterback as the one Jordan Love got. Now, the Bengals often operate like Green Bay. They don't like to put guarantees in their deals beyond the first year. They're going to guarantee you money at signing, and that is going to be about it. The problem with what the Bengals did with Burrow is they only gave him $40 million, only $40 million, only life-changing money. But it's only $40 million, which means you have to make up for that compensation with a much higher set of base salaries if you're not going to do these rolling guarantees. So Burrow counts $50 million on the cap in each of his final 3 years of his deal. This is not nearly as cap-friendly a deal as what the Packers did, and part of the reason is those guarantees up front. The Packers being willing to do the signing bonus was a genius move by them because it does offer them some insurance for down the road, but it also lightens the burden of the cap. Now, Burrow also has a probably fake final year of his contract on the extension, $68.5 million on the salary cap. So the Love deal is 74. That's basically Burrow plus inflation. We talked about this I almost said an episode of The Leap, in a piece I did for The Leap. You can go read it. This is not that dissimilar, except the signing bonus makes it more manageable on the cap. Lower base salaries because you're getting all this money up front. Now, the Justin Herbert deal is also somewhat similar to the Jordan Love deal, except he got it a year earlier and it's a 5-year deal, but they're going to end up having to renegotiate at the same time because Herbert, that fluff year, that fake inflationary year because you just want to puff up that big final top line number, is the second to last year of his deal. $71 million on the cap. And that's before accounting for the option bonus money that they're probably going to push out into the future and make that number even higher. So yes, it's a 5-year deal, but it's not really, because that 4th year is the one where you go, well, we can't play with him on that. So he's going to end up having to renegotiate his deal around the same time Jordan Love is going to have to renegotiate his, because neither team is going to want them on that $70 million cap figure. Even if by then, in 3 years, 4 years, it's not going to, be nearly as punitive as $71 million on this cap would be. The last one I want to shout out here is Trevor Lawrence. You look at it and you see some of the numbers, and you go, oh, this is actually in some ways a better deal than the one that Jordan Love got. No, it's not. No, it's not. Cap hits under $20 million in 2024 and 2025. But then $50 and $53+ million in base salary, with cap hits over $70 million in each of the final 2 seasons of this extension. Again, a 5-year extension, but not really. When it's that 4th year, that's fake. And you're using that 5th year to puff up the total number of dollars that's in there. It's not a 5-year, $275 million deal. It's a 3-year, $125 million deal, because you don't really count those last 2 years because he's not going to see them. And then, he's on this year now. So the Packers, you go, oh, well, the signing bonus thing, that's a lot of money. But the signing bonus really, truly was a stroke of genius that allows them to not have to pay big base salaries later, which allows them to keep the cap hits low of any of these quarterbacks. He got the most money up front. Up front. In basically every case, the true guarantees, there's some guaranteed money. I mean, Love has first 2 years of his base salaries are guaranteed. So, and then some of the third year. But the big time, the option bonuses, all that stuff, that's not in the Jordan Love deal. He's going to be making similar amounts of money while being considerably less expensive on the salary cap than these other quarterbacks. So the Packers got the best of both worlds here. Yes, it's going to cost them $75 million up front, but that's money that they were going to have to pay no matter what. And because you get to spread it out, it does not make it punitive on the cap. I know that Bears fans and Vikings fans want to clown this move, but like, this is an inspired contract for the Green Bay Packers. And you heard Diana Rossini yesterday on the show say, look, this is a great win for the Packers. It's a great win for Jordan Love. And if she had to put, a winner on it overall, she would have it be the Packers. They got a team-friendly deal on this because they did. All right, we've been on Morgan Watch, like it's Panda Watch from Anchorman. And we're getting a clear picture now. But I'm not sure I quite understand the strategy. I try to make sense of it next on Locked On Packers. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But the NFL season really doesn't start in earnest until mid-September. NBA playoffs way behind us. NHL playoffs way behind us. Baseball. I mean, now we're in the dog days of baseball. WNBA is not around because of the Olympics. The sports just really are not sportsing the way that I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want because all I have to do is open the app and dream up a bet anytime I'm in the mood. I want to bet on football. I got a future I can bet on. 27.5 touchdowns for Jordan Love. Over. If he plays 17 games, he's going over. If he plays 17 games, he's going over. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you for making Locked On Packers your first listen today. But for your second listen, go check out Locked On NFL Scouting. The draft dudes, Joe Marino and Kyle Krabs, take you inside the front office, making you a smarter NFL fan every single day. Stay up to date on training camp and positional battles as the season draws near. Locked On NFL Scouting is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. So we were wondering about what was going on with Jordan Morgan playing right guard and then the shift with Sean Rhyan going to left guard. And now Jordan Morgan playing with the ones at right guard. And now the vision comes into clear focus. They said Jordan Morgan was competing at right guard. It seemed like Sean Rhyan had a pretty tight grip on that job. It no longer appears that is the case. And as I said on the Twitter machine, if Jordan Morgan is better than Sean Rhyan, then it is good that he is going to be starting over him. And I think Jordan Morgan can be an outstanding guard. I am not in a position right now to want to litigate the positional value conversation. We can have that in the offseason. If he is an upgrade over what they had last year at right guard, that's good. That is a good thing for the Packers, especially on a team that could use some continuity with their offensive line after really, searching for it in the first half of last year after David Bakhtiari goes down and then John Rennan Jr. gets hurt. And it was kind of a miracle that by the end of the year, they were playing as well as they were. But then that also brings into focus why when Elton Jenkins was playing center, when Josh Myers was dealing with a personal issue away from practice, that they moved Sean Rhyan to left guard. Because if what you really want is Jordan Morgan to win that right guard spot outright, and that's where you think his home can be. And I think it would be short-sighted, honestly, to say, they talked about, Adam Stenovich talked about wanting to, They looked at where he had the best chance to come in and compete for a job right away, and they landed on right guard. That's coach speak nonsense. Whose job is he most likely to take? Whose job at most is at risk? He's not a center, so it's obviously Sean Rhyan's. But so then, okay, is Sean Rhyan one of your best 5? And the reason that you put him at left guard is to get a look of him at left guard on the chance that you want to move Elgton Jenkins to center because Josh Myers is not cutting it. And if you think Sean Rhyan can be one of your best 5, then you feel comfortable moving Elgton Jenkins to center. And so I've said Jordan Morgan will actually decide who plays center for the Green Bay Packers. I'm now feeling like I have to amend that to Sean Rhyan will decide. Because it seems like Jordan Morgan is in position to now win this right guard job. If they want him to win the right guard job, he will have it. Like he is good. He's a good enough player. Had some issues on the first day of when they're in pads one-on-one yesterday, rebounds. Does a nice job against Devontae Wyatt by all accounts. And so if Jordan Morgan is your right guard, then you got to see if Sean Rhyan is a better option for you at left guard than Josh Myers is at center. That's the calculation, because we know Elgton Jenkins is an upgrade. Now, the question is, and you know, our pal Jacob Westendorf pointed this out on Twitter. I said they need to figure out if Sean Rhyan can be one of their best 5, because we know Josh Myers is not the guy. At least not long term. He might be one of their best 5 because Sean Rhyan might not be good, and that's what we know what it is. But Dorf pointed out the Packers might not be in the same position we are with understanding where Josh Myers is. We've talked about this a little bit on the show in the past. That's true and unfortunate. But I still think I'm still holding out hope that what the decision ultimately is okay. If Jordan Morgan is going to win that right guard spot, then give Elgton Jenkins some reps at center so that you can get Sean Rhyan opportunities at guard. They gave, Elgton Jenkins some veteran rest. Like Elgton Jenkins is like, not even 30 years old. And he's getting veteran rest. I think that might be code for we'd really like to see, that's a tongue twister. We'd really like to see Sean sells seashells by the Sean Rhyan. I'm sorry. The opportunities have to be there. Because if Elgton Jenkins is just going to play left guard and Josh Myers is just going to be your center, then you've kind of resigned yourself to Sean Rhyan just being a backup and maybe a backup swing. But then like Royce Newman is getting run with the ones at left guard. I don't think that's about Royce Newman. I really don't. Because last year they had the chance to put in Royce Newman when John Rennie Jr. was dealing with the injury, and it was Sean Rhyan, not Royce Newman. What I think that is understanding, okay, there's a chance here, a decent chance, that Elgton Jenkins is your center. That we'd rather have Elgton Jenkins play center than almost anything else. And then that means you have to find a left guard who can play. And so you give Royce Newman a look. What does he look like at left guard? Probably just the same bad player that we saw at right guard, but maybe not. Probably, but maybe not. And so you have to give everyone, not everyone, you have to give at least Royce Newman and Sean Rhyan the chance to show, hey, look, if someone else is going to play left guard for whatever reason, you can be confident because it's us or it's me. Someone has to show that for them to want to make that move. But I think Royce Newman getting opportunities there is a hint that they do want to make that move. And they'd like to find someone that they feel confident in to play that spot. Can they find it? Donovan Jennings, who I thought had a really good chance. They gave him a big guaranteed signing bonus as an undrafted free agent. I thought that he was, a much better player than that in terms of being a UDFA. He was projected more in that like 5th round range. And he's been hurt, unable to really give them a good look there. Andre Dillard is probably just like not it. So maybe it is Royce Newman versus Sean Rhyan for that spot. Right now, that's kind of a troubling thought. And that tells me that we may be opening the season seeing Elton Jenkins at left guard and Josh Myers at center. And then we'll go from there. All right, back tomorrow. Aaron Schatz for a Summer Friday. Summer Fridays are back, baby. So follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts. And check us out on all the socials on YouTube. All our shows are on video there. Our clips are on Instagram. They're on TikTok. So you can stay Locked On Packers.